8. The Man Who Lived Inside My Screensaver. It started a month ago when I switched from my old PC to a refurbished desktop I bought off a guy on Facebook Marketplace. It worked fine, surprisingly well for something that cheap. He even left a few programs on it I recognized. Some video editing software, a handful of old games, a few weird folders I immediately deleted. I only noticed something strange the first time the screensaver kicked on. Uh, it was one of those default ones from the early 2000s, a looping 3D environment of floating hallways, glowing cubes, and spinning geometric shapes. Just nostalgia, I figured. Until I saw him. Just a flicker, a person. Way off in the corner of the rendered hallway, barely visible, watching from behind a polygonal column. At first, I thought I imagined it. I reset the screensaver, let it run again. The hallway looped endlessly. Nothing there, but I swear, right before it switched off, I saw the figure again, closer this time. The next night, it happened again. This time, I didn't just see the figure, I saw it walk. It was stiff, wrong, like something trying to move like a human but slightly off sync with the world around it. It would fade behind a wall, then flicker into the next corner, closer than before. It was wearing something old, like a janitor's uniform. Its face was pale and stretched. I tried to exit the screensaver, but it froze. Mouse didn't work. Keyboard didn't respond. The figure moved slowly toward the camera of the looping hallway. And right before the screensaver finally shut off, he turned his head to look directly at me. I disabled the screensaver after that. Thought maybe it was a glitch. Maybe the guy who sold me the PC installed some weird custom animation as a joke. But the next night around 2 a.m., the screen turned itself on. No inputs, no movement, just static. Then the hallway came back, and he was already standing front and center, staring. This time, he didn't wait. He walked up to the screen and whispered something. I couldn't hear it, but I saw it on his lips. "You brought me back." After that, it got worse. My mouse would drift on its own, my webcam light flickered at night. But worst of all, I started seeing those same hallways in my dreams, exact replicas of the ones in the screensaver. Same endless corridors, same flickering blue light. And always him. Walking, searching, sometimes crouched in corners, listening, sometimes dragging a long metal object across the walls, and sometimes whispering to the other ones, because there's more than one. I emailed the guy who sold me the PC. No reply. I searched his username. Nothing. But I checked the hard drive more carefully and found a folder I missed. Hidden deep inside old world/residence. Inside it were dozens of files named like people, mark1.txt, natalifinal.png, janitor.exe, and one named me.move. I played it. It was webcam footage of me. From earlier that day, I hadn't recorded anything. Now, every time I fall asleep, I see new sections of the hallway. Stairs, doors, windows into rooms that flicker with static and looping footage of strangers staring at computer screens. Each time, I feel closer to understanding what they are, or where they are. And last night, when I woke up gasping, there was a message burned into my monitor's background, like it had been etched into the pixels themselves. "Don't delete me again." I replaced the computer, factory reset, bought brand new, but the hallway still shows up. In reflections. In dreams. In power surges and glitched out TikToks. He's not in the computer anymore. He's in the signal, and he's still looking for me. Long form, pure narration style. Story 9, voicemail from my future self. It started with a voicemail. No missed call, no contact info, just a new notification that showed up on my phone while I was showering. I almost deleted it, assuming it was spam, but something about the timestamp caught my eye. Received April 18th, 2026. I checked the date. It was April 9th, 2025. Weird. Some kind of glitch? Maybe my phone's clock was off? I pressed play, and that's when everything changed. The voice on the other end was mine, but different, hoarse, panicked, like I'd been running or hiding. "Listen to me. You don't have time. I don't know how long the line stays open. You need to leave your apartment. Now. Don't look outside. Don't turn off the lights. Don't trust your own voice. If she calls, don't answer. If you answer, it'll be too late. Click." Then silence. I laughed it off at first. Maybe a prank? Maybe someone using AI to mess with me? But the voice sounded tired, frayed, like it had been through something awful. I shrugged it off until that night when my apartment lights began flickering around 3 a.m. All of them. at once. Bathroom, kitchen, desk lamp, even the bulb inside my microwave. And then I got another voicemail. Same number. Still no contact info. This one was just breathing, labored, desperate, like someone hiding in a closet. I listened 3 times, and the third time I heard whispering underneath the breath, "She knows you listened." I didn't sleep that night. Every sound outside my window felt amplified. I live on the 4th floor, so when I heard footsteps directly outside my window, I damn near screamed. I turned off the lights and peeked through the blinds. No one there. But the street below, pitch black. Every house across the block, lights off, dead, dead. Like someone pulled the plug on the whole neighborhood, except my building, except my floor. The third voicemail came a day later. The voice sounded more desperate. "She's learning your schedule. Stop checking the mail at noon. She watches from behind the mailbox. She doesn't blink. She copies your face. You're going to see her soon. Don't talk to her. Don't talk to her. Don't." Click. I stayed inside all day. Curtains drawn. I unplugged the TV, the Alexa, the security cam, but when I looked at my phone, it had recorded a new voicemail. This time, it was just my voice, my regular voice, saying, "Hi, this is me. Everything's fine now. I took care of it. I'm home." Except I hadn't said that, and I was home when I got it. I tried going to the police. They thought I was messing with them, said there was nothing on my phone, no voicemails, nothing in my call logs, but I still had them saved on my PC. I showed the officer the MP3 files I transferred. He listened. His face went pale, but then the files deleted themselves right in front of us. "Must have been corrupted," he said, but his voice trembled. I moved, new apartment, different state, threw the old phone in a river, changed my number, but last week my new phone vibrated while I was brushing my teeth. One new voicemail, no call history, just a voice. Breathing, saying she's already here. I used to work late shifts as a rideshare driver in a quiet town just outside of Minneapolis. Night shifts paid better, and most of my rides were people just needing a safe trip home. Nothing unusual. But a couple years ago, I picked up a passenger that still haunts me to this day. It started like any other night. It was close to 2 a.m., and I was about to head home when a request pinged in from a gas station off a country road about 15 minutes away. I almost ignored it, but something told me to take one last ride. I pulled up to the gas station. It was dark except for a flickering overhead light. No one was outside. I checked the app, confirmed the pickup, and waited. A few moments later, the back door of my car opened. No greeting, no footsteps, just the quiet creak of the door and the feeling of weight shifting the car slightly. I turned to look, but no one was there, or at least no one visible. The back seat was empty. My eyes scanned the dark lot again. Nothing. I even leaned out of the car, thinking maybe someone opened the door and then changed their mind. But when I turned back, the door was shut, and the app updated. Passenger picked up. Proceed to destination. I sat there for a long second, wondering if my tired brain had glitched. Maybe it was a prank. Maybe someone was messing with me. I put the car in drive, thinking maybe it was a system error. As I pulled onto the road, my dashboard lights flickered. The temperature dropped fast. I mean, fast enough that I could see my breath in the car. That's when I started to feel it. The pressure. It felt like someone was sitting directly behind me, leaning forward, watching. Every hair on my neck stood up. I adjusted the mirror, but the back seat still looked empty. Yet I couldn't shake the feeling that someone, something, was back there. I tried to play it off. I turned the music up slightly, tried talking out loud. "Hey, everything good back there?" No answer. But a few seconds later, the music turned itself off. My hands went clammy. I kept driving, thinking maybe I'd just drop the phantom passenger off and be done with it. But the route on the app wasn't leading to a house or an apartment. It was taking me deep into the woods, down a dirt road that looked like it hadn't been used in years. I stopped the car. "Nope," I whispered. "Not doing this." That's when the dome light turned on, by itself. There was nothing in the seat, nothing visible, but the pressure was there, like a silent breath pushing against my neck. I could feel it now, heavy, still, watching, and then I heard it, a whisper, not in my ears, inside my head. "Keep driving." I don't know how or why I listened. Maybe it was fear, maybe something else. I kept going, deeper into the trees, the dirt crunching under my tires, the limbs of the woods closing in on both sides. Finally, the GPS chimed. You have arrived. I looked around. There was no house, no building, just trees and blackness. And then the back door opened. No footsteps, no goodbye, just the sound of the door slowly creaking and shutting. I sat there, frozen. I checked the mirror again. Nothing. The temperature returned to normal. The dome light clicked off. The pressure disappeared. I slammed the car in reverse and got the hell out of there. Drove until I was back in the city and parked under a streetlight just to feel normal again. Later, I checked the ride history. The trip was still listed. But the name of the passenger? Just 3 words, unknown. No profile. I haven't worked a night shift since, and I never take pickups from that gas station anymore. Room that wasn't on the floor plan, in pure narration style. The room that wasn't on the floor plan. When my wife and I bought our first home, it was a dream come true. It was an older Victorian-style place just outside Charleston. Creaky wood floors, tall windows, all that charm. We got it at a great price too, and the only catch was it needed some cosmetic work. Nothing major. The real estate agent gave us the floor plan during the inspection, and I kept it on hand because I was planning to do some renovations. Open up a wall, maybe add a reading nook. I studied it for hours. 2 floors, 3 bedrooms, 2 bathrooms, and a small attic. So when I knocked through the wall in what was supposed to be a shallow linen closet upstairs, I wasn't expecting to find a hallway. Not pipes, not old beams. An actual narrow hallway behind the wall. It ran about 12 feet, low ceiling, dusty, no lighting. I had to crouch a little to see the end of it. My first thought was that maybe it was part of the old architecture, maybe a crawl space or servant's passage that had been sealed off over the decades. But at the end of that hallway was a door. Old, painted over in some chalky off-white with a rusted knob. The weird part, from the outside, according to the floor plan, there shouldn't have been anything there. The hallway ended against an exterior wall. I went outside, paced the yard, even measured from the inside out. It should have been the edge of the house, but it wasn't. There was space there, space that shouldn't exist. I went back upstairs, stood in front of the door for a while. It didn't feel right, like the air was heavier there, thicker. Finally, I opened it. The room was small, empty. Dusty floorboards, cracked ceiling, and walls covered in peeling floral wallpaper that looked like it hadn't been touched in 100 years. There was only one piece of furniture, a small rocking chair in the corner. I remember saying something out loud like, "Ha, weird." And then, clear as day, I heard a soft creak. The chair rocked. Just once. I froze. Every part of me told me to back out and seal it up, but I couldn't stop staring at it, the way the wallpaper seemed to ripple. The faint smell of iron, the chill in the air that hadn't been there seconds ago. Then I saw the writing, carved faintly into the wooden floor beneath the chair, just a few letters. Stay. I didn't sleep that night. I couldn't stop thinking about the room. My wife kept asking what was wrong, and I told her I found an old crawl space. Nothing more. The next day, I went to the town records office. I asked for the original floor plans from when the house was built in 1911. And there it was, a 4th bedroom. No name, no dimensions, just listed as unassigned room, do not use. I asked the clerk about it. She looked at me like I'd told her the house had whispered to me. That house, she said. We don't usually give tours for that one. People don't stay long. I didn't ask her what she meant. That night, I sealed the hallway back up. Drywall, screws, paint, everything. But sometimes late at night, I hear it. The chair, rocking. Softly from inside the wall. I found a locked door in my apartment that doesn't show up on the floor plan. I moved into my apartment in the middle of winter. The place seemed perfect. Cheap rent, good location, quiet neighbors. I wasn't expecting anything strange, but then I noticed something off the first night I stayed there. I'd already unpacked most of my things and was settling into bed when I heard it. The soft thud of something heavy hitting the wall. It came from the hallway outside my bedroom, just beyond the door. At first, I thought it was just the pipes, or maybe the building settling. But then it happened again, and again. A dull thud, like something was gently knocking at my door. I opened it. Nothing. The hallway was empty, just the usual dim light from the overhead bulb. I shrugged it off, but the next few days felt wrong. Every time I walked through the apartment, I'd get this nagging feeling, like I was being watched. It was subtle, but it was there, like there was an invisible presence lurking just out of sight. Then came the door. It was a small door, tucked away at the very end of the hallway. I hadn't noticed it when I first moved in. The apartment's floor plan didn't show it, and there was nothing on the walls to indicate it was there. It was hidden in plain sight. And when I looked closer, I saw that it was locked. I couldn't stop staring at it. There was nothing unusual about the door, except for the fact that it wasn't on any floor plans I'd been given. It was a regular wooden door with a brass knob, a little worn, but in decent shape. But it shouldn't have been there. It didn't make sense. I tried to ask my landlord about it, but he looked at me like I was crazy when I mentioned it. "What door?" he asked. "There's no door there." But there it was, clear as day. I even pulled out the floor plan again. No door, just the wall where it should have been. I felt like I was losing my mind. But the more I thought about it, the more I had to know what was behind it. So one night, I made up my mind. I was going to open it. I couldn't explain why I felt so drawn to it. Maybe it was curiosity. Maybe it was the sense of unease that had been creeping up on me since I'd moved in. But when I approached it, I felt something that made my skin crawl. A coldness, like the air around the door was different from the rest of the hallway. The lock was simple, just a rusted keyhole. I didn't have a key, but the lock looked old enough that I might be able to force it open. I pulled out a butter knife and started working at it. To my surprise, the lock gave way after only a few minutes of prying. My heart was racing as I turned the knob. The door creaked open, revealing a narrow stairwell leading down into darkness. I hesitated for a moment, but then I stepped inside. The stairs were steep and the air smelled damp. The whole space felt like it hadn't been touched in years. I descended, the sound of my footsteps echoing off the walls. The deeper I went, the colder it got, until the temperature felt like I was standing in a freezer. At the bottom of the stairs was a door. This one was completely solid, no window, just an old iron handle. I reached for it, but the instant I touched the handle, the entire building seemed to shudder. The light flickered and went out. I was plunged into darkness. I panicked and tried to run back up the stairs, but the door at the top, the one I had just opened, was gone. There was no door, just a blank wall. I screamed. My voice echoed in the dark, but there was no answer. I turned back to the iron door. I had to know what was behind it. I grasped the handle and turned it. The door opened into a small, dimly lit room. It was nothing special, just a bare concrete floor, some old boxes, and a single chair in the corner. But what caught my attention was the wall opposite me. It was covered in writing, scribbled in red, but too faded to read clearly. I stepped forward, leaning in to make out the words. But then behind me I heard something shift. I turned around quickly, but there was nothing there. Just the darkness closing in, the sound of my own breath, and the unmistakable feeling that something had been waiting for me. I haven't touched the door since. I haven't even looked at it. The hallway still feels colder when I walk past, and every night, just as I'm about to fall asleep, I hear it. A faint scratching sound, like nails running down the wall. And when I open my eyes, I'm sure I see something moving in the shadows at the end of the hall. It's waiting, and so am I.